Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in here to our user group webinar. My name is Jim, and I'm coming to you live on a cool but sunny day here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm glad to be talking with all of you, and we're going to be discussing the email features in the membership module. Before we get started on that, I want to take a moment, talk about your GoToWebinar control panel that everybody should have on your screen there. Usually it's the upper left hand corner, you're going to see a button with a little red button with an arrow on it that lets you either minimize that control panel to give you a little more room on your screen to see what we're talking about here in our webinar today, or maximize it to give you access to the different features there in that control panel. Specifically, the questions portion there. I'm going to be the Lone Ranger here today, so if you have any questions specifically about the email feature, if you could hold on to those until the end of the presentation, that would be great. We're going to be spending the next 20 minutes or so here talking about the email features in membership. For any folks out there who have our regional training manuals, you can follow along in the membership 203 book. The topics we're going to be covering in the webinar here today are going from pages 2 to pages 14 in that regional training membership 203 book. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with talking about our emails here in the membership module. Sending emails using the Church Windows program requires a bit of setup to occur first before it's going to work here in Church Windows. It requires that you have an existing email account that you wish to use to send your emails. Church Windows then can be configured to hook into that existing email account. It has to be an SMTP email account hosted on the internet somewhere. Church Windows can hook into and log into that existing email account, and once that's done, you can then use the features in the Church Windows program. So we're going to have two steps here in our webinar here this afternoon, where first I'm going to kind of talk about how to hook Church Windows into an existing email account, and then we'll talk about how to go about actually sending those emails. So to start, we'll go ahead and launch our membership module from our opening portal here in Church Windows. Takes us to our opening image map here in the membership module. From here, we're going to open up our reports menu. We're going to click on the option there that says email. That takes us to a step 1 window, which is normally, this is where you're going to tell the system which people from membership that you wish to send emails to. But I'm just going to click next there because we're going to talk about actually setting up our existing email addresses first. Up here at the top of this window, where it says email setting, is where you configure Church Windows to talk to your existing email account. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. If you click on your down arrow from here, if you already have email accounts set up to hook into Church Windows, you would see them on the drop-down list. In this case, we do not have any. So we're going to click on the green plus button to the right of that to create a new email account. That takes you to the Setup SMTP email window. From here, basically you start at the top and work your way down here. So this display name is just how this email account is going to appear on this drop-down list. So it is a display only. So if you're going to only have a single email account that uses Church Windows to send emails, you can have something very generic. The name of your church, could be listed here. If you do have multiple people's emails that you want to set up for Church Windows to use. If you have multiple people that want to send emails, you would use that person's name up here in display name, so that when you click on your down arrow, you can differentiate between them. Just going to call it the webinar email. Below this, where it says outgoing mail server, is where you point Church Windows at that server on the internet. So Church Windows is trying to communicate with an email server using that SMTP language, or Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So there's a little green plus button over to the right of this where you plug in your address information here. We have a Gmail account already set up here that we're going to use today. So I'm going to go ahead and point Church Windows at that Gmail SMTP server. Now, if you don't know your email's SMTP settings, you will probably need to contact your system administrator, or perhaps somebody at your internet service provider. You can even maybe do an internet search for SMTP settings. You may be able to locate it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. That will be the name of that server out on the internet. And the Gmail servers use these basic settings for port number and SSL or security settings. I do want to point out that as you're kind of working your way through this, which can be a bit tricky to set up the first time you want to use this, we do have a series of these little question marks, which is going to give you some more information about, kind of what we're trying to accomplish with each of these fields. Once you've got your settings filled in here on the setup on the SMTP server window, you click your Perform Connection Test button at the bottom, and it tells me that we've already got this one set up. Let me go ahead and show you that. We had previously set up this server on our training data here. I'm going to go ahead and click on this Edit Server button here. You'll see it's the same settings that I was just filling in here. When you're all set with entering this information, to allow these settings to be saved in Church Windows, you must perform connection test, which is this button here at the bottom. Now Church Windows is sending a signal out to that computer out on the internet using these settings. If Church Windows is able to talk to that email server, it'll give you this message that the connection test is successful. When you click OK, you'll now see that your Perform Connection Test button is green. If you're unable to get this part of it to work, you may need to adjust perhaps your port number or your SSL settings on here. That's assuming that you've got the SMTP address correctly entered at the top. Once you've got that, you click OK. You'll now see Outgoing Mail Server is populated there. So that's just the computer out on the internet that hosts your email address. Next, you have to tell Church Windows about that specific email address that is hosted there. So that's where you get into this From Email Address section. Below that, I'm going to go ahead and click on my little plus button here to set up that email address. We've got one Church Windows email test at Gmail. And so that'll be the actual email address itself. What you have listed here where it says name or organization name is actually what's going to appear in the From box when people receive your emails. It's going to populate with the name of your church from your system settings page, but you can edit that if you wish to on this window. When you're all set with that, go ahead and click OK. And again, it's going to tell me that we've already got this in here. So let's go ahead and select that. There's our Church Windows email test. So that's the email account that Church Windows is going to try to log into. Then you have to put in the password you have for that email address. So once you've got all of this information populated, you click here to send a test email. It'll ask you to enter an email address that you have access to so that you can go check and make sure that you receive that test email. When you click OK, Church Windows is going to try to then log in to that email account and send an email from it. You should receive this message that you have successfully sent a test email out of Church Windows. And if you go check your inbox, you'll get an email that looks something like this. It'll be test email from, and it'll have your email addressed as the subject line. And it'll just be a little, this email was sent by you at this time. So it'll just be a small, brief test email that you'll receive. You'll then see your send test email button turn green at the bottom. Now you are all set to use these settings with Church Windows. When you click OK, you will now see it listed on your drop-down at the top. That can be one of the trickier things to kind of set up in the Church Windows program. So you may need to, again, contact your internet service provider. You can give us a call at the support line. We'll be glad to do our best to help you out. But you need to know those SMTP settings for your email address. You got to know your address. You've got to know your password. Once all that stuff's set up, Church Windows is able to hook into that email address, and we're all set to go from there. So next, let's talk about how to actually send an email from membership. There's a couple of different places here in the membership module where you can send emails. If you want to send an individual email, there's a couple of places where you can do that. Commonly here on your membership and members window. This is our membership members window where most folks do their data entry in the membership module. In the upper right-hand corner on the individual record, you've got a tiny little button right here that you can use to send a single email to the individual that you have on your screen. You'll notice that and this also requires that you have an email address field set up in membership, which we do right here. And we have to have an email address on that person's record, which we see right here. Okay. So if I did want to send an individual email here to Mr. Jack Allen Oliver, I will click on my little email button up here at the top. Takes me to this window right here. You'll notice that this is the same kind of window we were looking at previously. You've got your email setting in the upper left-hand corner. If you click on your down arrow, there's that webinar setup that I just created. We can select that, and now it's time to go ahead and compose your email that you want to send. That is done in the section below that where it says custom email message right here. Okay? All right. So there's a small green plus button to the right of where it says custom email message. Clicking that takes you to a window where you can compose your email. It's a message window where you can fill in all of the information that you need. This is a regular, relatively standard email composition window where you can fill out, an email that you want to send out to somebody. There's a subject line. Just wanted to remind you the fish fry we had this weekend, be there or be square. Okay, so fill in whatever you need to for your email from here. I do want to point out that you also have an insert tab here at the top here where you could then include file attachments by clicking on attach file right here. You can include pictures in the body of your email, standard email compositional settings that you can do for a particular email. So once you've got your email composed here, you can use your options menu right here And again, it's this button up here. It's kind of it's like a little down arrow with a menu. This little tab right here is your options menu from here. So clicking on that, you can simply click send email here. And when you do, it takes you to this window where it tells you the person you're going to be sending that email to. And clicking on the send email button down here in the lower right hand corner will go ahead and send that email out to that person. Okay. This is just a training class and we don't really have a fish fry, so I'm not going to go ahead and send that email at this time. One of the other things I did want to point out, that if this is an email that you wanted to save, like for example, if you wanted to send it multiple times, if you had several people you wanted to remind of that, or if it's an email that you send out periodically to different people for whatever purpose, you just wanted to save the format of the email, you can do that on your options menu by clicking on your save button here. Message was saved, you'll get on that message there. So that any future emails, you can click on your little down arrow here and you can call up any saved emails that you've saved to the system. So they're reusable basically. The other thing I did want to point out to you while we're looking at this window is that you can set up signatures. If you want to have an automated signature that appears at the bottom of each of your emails, you can create that with your custom email signature section, which is right here on this window. And again, if you click on the down arrow, you can have multiple signatures saved. I'm going to go ahead and click again on my green plus button to create a new signature. Oops. So this is going to go at the bottom of all of my emails. I want this saved. You have to give it a title in order for it to be saved there. You can, again, also, you can insert pictures if you wish to. Let's say I did want to include a little image in my emails. I can do that by using the picture button here. I'll go to our pictures folder. I'll use our little picture here. And I'll include, oh, much bigger than I thought it was going to be. Let me make that smaller and move it. So it's just an image that you can then resize, move however you see fit there. Okay, so there's my little, oh, I deleted it. Typical. If only there were an undo, which there isn't here. Didn't work. Let's do that one more time real quick, guys. Sorry about that. Let's move it over here. There we go. All right, so once you got that, go ahead and go to your options menu, click save. Now you've got that signature that's available to you in future emails. Just click on your down arrow and select that. Okay? All right. Oh, one thing I do want to send an email here. I do want to show you the little message that you receive when it gets sent out. Actually, why didn't it use this? Click a new email. Insert. I just want to show you the message that you get real quick here. So when you do send an email from here, you will get, we'll use this. It'll use our custom signature from here. When you click send test. Okay, good. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Send email, my mistake. So I'll send one to Jack. When I click send email from here, send this email to one person. Church Windows will then generate that email and send it. you get a message that says this: emailing completed, click OK to view the results. I do want to make sure I show this to you guys here today. It opens up a little menu that looks like this. Okay. So it gives you whose emails got sent, whose emails failed. In this case, it was able to successfully send that email to Jack. You'll see that listed here in the middle of that report right here. Email was successfully sent. Also, useful to know here, I'm going to go ahead and close out of there. You also have an email log that you can take a look at right here on this window where it says View Sent Email Logs, where you can take a look at any emails that you've sent out of church windows and get and take a look at that report that you received. So any previous log that you've got, you can click on the little paper button and you'll get that information here. So you can take a look at the history of any emails that you've sent out using that View Sent Email Logs. Okay. With the time that we have left, I do want to show you how to send out like an email blast. If you have an email that you want to send out to multiple people out of membership, you can do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of our membership members window. And we're going to go back to our reports menu and click on email again. So now we're going to take a few moments to talk about this step 1 window. So when you do the email report, it takes you to this step 1 window first, where you can tell the system which records out of the membership module you want to send an email to. Let's say instead of sending that fish fry email just to Jack, I wanted to send it to all of my active members. So in the upper left-hand corner where it says select a membership field, we can click on our down arrow here and you see all of the different things that you track in the membership module that you can search by. So in this case, I said I wanted to send this email to all of our active members that have email addresses, and we code membership in church windows using a field called status. So I'm going to scroll on down to our status field. Right there. You select that field and you've got all of the valid codes that you use in that listed below. I'm going to select active member and click my plus selection button. So everybody who is coded as an active member under status is going to receive this email. And when I click next, and by the way, I just want to, just a quick moment here, you can do this search based on anything from membership. So status is just what I used as this example. You could do it for groups and classes. So if you wanted to send, for example, an email out to everybody in your trustees committee, and you have those folks all grouped under groups and classes, you could, send the email based on that. You could even send emails based on giving criteria. So active members who haven't given this year, for example, it could be a search like that. There's a number of combinations of searches that you can do. I'm just doing a simple one to all of our active members, and I'm clicking next. Here's our grid of all the folks who are going to receive this email. Up here at the top where it says email setting, I'm going to make sure I select my webinar setting. Custom email message. If I wanted to reuse my fish fry email, I could do that. I'll select that here. And then if I wanted to send this out to all these fine folks, because I'm using this saved email message, I could also, by the way, compose a new one by clicking on the green plus button the way we just discussed a moment ago. From here, I can click on send email. And it's going to go through. It's going to tell you how many folks it's going to send that email to. If I click yes here, it's going to go through one at a time and send emails to each of those individuals. And then once it's done sending each of those emails, we'll get another one of those reports telling us who got the email, who didn't. Hopefully we get 25 successful emails. We don't have time to wait for the program to get through all of that because we're about out of time here for our webinar this afternoon. one last thing I did want to point out, just because I'm looking at it on my screen here. If you also then wanted to send letters to everybody who you don't have an email for, you can use this print labels for people with no email. And it uses that same search criteria, in this case all of the active members, and it brings you to a labels report, so you can send you can print labels for all the folks that don't have emails set up in the Church Windows program. All right, folks, that's all the time I have here today in this brief 20-minute window that we get for these webinars. That's the basics right there for sending emails out of the Church Windows membership module. I'd like to thank you guys so much for joining me here today. In the upper right-hand corner of your GoToWebinar control panel, there is an X you can click on to go ahead and exit out of the room here. And if you're out of here for right now, thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to hang around a little bit for any questions, feel free to do so. I'll leave the room open for a little bit to answer any questions as they come in. So thanks for joining me, everybody.